Well, hello and welcome to the realm of mathematical adventure. I, of course, am your host, Mr. Lupke, and it is an awesome privilege to welcome you, our mathematical legionnaires, as we discover the beauty that is mathematics. Today, we're going to be talking about points, lines, and planes. These are the building blocks for the subject of geometry. And geometry is way different than anything that you might have already experienced with algebra and before, because geometry is the first time that we're going to be talking more about objects and not about just algorithms or just evaluating expressions or rules or things like that. We're going to be talking about objects. And so this is going to be way different than maybe any type of math video you've seen before. So let's get talking about the building blocks of geometry: points, lines, and planes. All right, the first thing we have to talk about, this is the very basic, the first thing about geometry, is this: a point. A point. Now, what is a point? A point is just simply a location. Think about when you go to places on a map, or you're looking at a map, maybe like at a bus station or a subway station, or in the car, or more on your phone, right? And they have all these dots everywhere. Well, those dots are points, and we represent our point with a dot. That dot represents a location, a specific place. So a point is a location. It has no width, has no length. It's just, that's it. Okay? Now, how do we name points in geometry? We name points using capital letters. So that, we say, is point A. This is point B. Point B is at a different location than point A. But these are both points. How do we write it? Well, we can write it using the word point A, but we can also just write it just using a capital letter. And that represents the point. Now, careful. You have to use a capital letter. You can't use lowercase letters. Lowercase letters are for something completely different. And remember, communication is key. And when you're looking at a map and you're trying to determine where you're at, you need to know that that point represents that one place, that one thing. And if you put something different, a different representation there, that means something completely different. We can't have that. So we have to have capital letters in our writing every single time, all right? Now let's take a look at what happens when we put lots of points together. Let's see what we get. All right, here we go. Now when we put lots of points together, in fact, when we put an infinite number of points together, we actually form what we call a line. A line is a string of infinite points going in opposite directions, okay? We show that line with arrows. Those arrows mean it keeps going on and on forever. Now, a line still has no thickness, has no width, but it keeps going on and on forever. We put points on these lines to represent specific points, maybe like point A and point B. That line goes through those 2 points. You might have heard this saying: the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Well, lines are always going to be straight. So the shortest distance between 2 points is a line. And that's how, so we just keep putting points. We could put lots of points. We could put point D, point Z, any type of point we want, any point on that line in a different location. Here we have just got points A and B. Now we're going to give this line a name, because we need to identify this line from, say, this line. How do I know the difference between this line and this line? Well, in our communication, to make this work, we give this line a very specific name. We call this line line AB. And we have a very special way in which we write it. Not only do we write the capital letters right next to each other, but then we put a little symbol above it, because that symbol will tell you that those 2 points, A and B, make line AB. But sometimes you might find that there's a line with no points on it, but a lowercase letter over here in the corner. We call this line D. Very simple. Now notice here, look at this. I use the word line with the lowercase letter, but I use the symbol for the capital letters. Very important. Don't mix those two up. Here's something you can't do. This, that's a no-no, okay? That's gibberish. We don't have that. Get it out. No, don't do that. You could write over here if you want line A, B. That's okay. But you know what? You know what every single one of your geometry teachers is going to ask you to do? Not write it like that. Write it like this. Use the symbol, okay? So that's line. Those are lines. Now, what happens when we have, that's when we have 2 points. When we identified 2 points, we could draw a line through them. What happens if we have 3 points in different places? What could we get? Well, let's take a look, shall we? All right, so now when we have 3 points in different places, 3 points, point A, point B, point C. We put a point there, and then we'll put C. And I can't draw a line through all 3 points, one line through all 3 points. Well, this creates what we call a plane. A plane is a flat surface that extends on indefinitely. A flat surface. Think about it like, if you were to represent it, kind of like a piece of paper. But that paper keeps on going and going and going and going and going. Okay? So, a plane is when you have 3 points, is represented by 3 points. Now, how do we name this plane? We name this plane using those 3 points. Plane A, B, C. We write the word plane and then we write the 3 points. But you know what? You know what the really cool part about this is? Is we could write the letters in any order we want. This could be plane CBA. This could be plane, I'll put a BAC. This could be plane, here's our favorite one. A lot of geometry teachers like to make up words with their letters. This could be plane cab. It could be any combination of those 3 letters you want. It doesn't matter. Okay? So it's just, all we have there is just a plane. And you know what else? You could have lines of this plane. The plane is like a place where you can hold things. Okay? It's so cool. And sometimes really hard to wrap your heads around. But just 3 points, we name it we say plane, we use the 3 letters to identify that plane. But there's another way which we could do that too. I'm going to put a really fancy capital W in that corner. And guess what? Sometimes we'll name planes, still use the word plane, but we'll use that fancy capital letter. We'll just say, we'll call this plane W because, well, that's shorter than plane ABC or CBA or all that stuff. So we'll do that. Plus, this starts to take up space inside the plane, and we might need that for other things. So we just simply write plane W. And that makes it easier for us, okay? But it's still the same thing. It's still a plane, okay? That's point, that's line, that's plane. Let's take a look at some examples, shall we? All right, so for these examples, we're going to be asked to draw the following figure. Draw these things. That's the cool part about geometry. We get to do some drawing. We don't just have to write numbers and equations and figure things out. We could draw pictures if we want. That's so cool. So here we go. Point W. We're asked to draw point W. Well, we know what a point is. A point's just simply a dot, and then we have to label it so we know that that's point W. What do we put next to that point? Well, a W, of course. Point W. We're done. That's it. That's all we have to do. That's so cool and so easy. Well, let's take a look at here. This is a line M. Line M. So that tells me we need to draw. Well, we need to draw a line. So we'll draw this line. Look, there's a nice line. Isn't that a nice line? It's got arrows on both sides. Perfect. Now, take a look at what's after that. Line M. So, how are we going to show that that's line M? Well, is it 2 capital letters? Well, no, it's not 2 capital letters. That means we don't put 2 points on there. Well, what we can do is we'll put an M right on that corner, right on that arrow, just underneath. No points, no points, no points. No. Just the lowercase m. Now we come to our third one, and it says we need to draw a plane RTZ. Plane RTZ. Well, we got to draw a plane. So let's just draw this kind of slanted rectangle. You know, in geometry, we're going to learn that we call that a parallelogram. But we'll call it a slanted rectangle because we haven't learned about parallelograms yet. Okay? So we've got our parallelogram or slanted rectangle. And now we just need to name it. It's plane RTZ. I see 3 capital letters in a row. Those capital letters represent points. That means we need to put points inside our plane. And now, and make sure they're not in a line. They can't be in a straight line. And then let's label them. Well, let's make that one R. Which one do you want to make T? The top one or the bottom one? I think you want to make it the top one. So I'm going to make it the bottom one just to be crazy. And then Z, and I put that Z there. Okay? And this is plane RTZ. Again, the points can go in any order at any place, just as long as they're inside our slanted rectangle or our parallelogram here. Okay? Just make it inside. That's all we got to do. Now let's take a look at some more examples when we have to name, we have to describe some pictures. Let's check that out, shall we? All right, time to describe some pictures. We got 3 pictures right here. I got this picture, and this picture, and this picture. Okay, this one's going to be tricky. Okay, I might say that we'll do that one second. We'll do it in order. But this problem here is designed to trick you. Let's take a look at our first one right here. You see this line? Well, that line. Well, it's a line, first of all. Now, does it have that little letter over here, the arrows? Well, of course not. It has 2 points on it with 2 capital letters. So when we name this, we need to use the 2 capital letter name. So we're going to write R and then T right next to it. But then what do we put on top of that to say it's a line? You're right. It's that symbol. It's that line symbol. We put that there. But you want to know what? Here's a little secret. The order doesn't matter. If you thought this should be line TR, well, congratulations, you're absolutely correct, because here in the realm of mathematical adventure, we accept either answer. We like them both. They are equal to each other. It's wonderful. It's perfect. That's the way we write our answers. Let's take a look at problem number 2. Well, what is this a picture of? Yeah, it's a picture of a plane. It's a picture of a plane, but we got to be careful. How many points do we need to name a plane? 3 points. We need 3 points to name a plane. Let's see what we got. We got 1 point, 2 points. There isn't a third point. I have 3 capital letters, but I only have 2 points. Guess what? This is that fancy capital letter in the corner. So we can't name, this is not plane RVX. Don't do that to yourself. You're going to get it wrong every time. There's only 2 points, so I can't name it using 3 points. I'm going to name it using the capital letter in the corner right there. So we're going to call this plane R. And do your best to try to copy the fancy letter, okay? Just try it. Yeah. And if it doesn't look great, who cares? Who cares? You made your best attempt, and that's all we really want. That's all we really care about. Let's take a look at our third picture here. You see this? What do I have? I just have a point. So this is point D, right? Point D. And we can name it just using a capital D, or we could put point and then a capital D. Either way, it's all good. All of these are options for you to use. Guess what? It was so easy. And you know what? We didn't do any addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, any crazy equations or anything like that. We just were drawing pictures and naming pictures. How cool is that? Okay, try those practice problems, and I'll see you next time.